What's up YouTube? I'm Vaughn and this is the Gear channel where we discuss collectibles, hobbies, competitive games from tabletop to video games, and today we are reviewing C.O.D vs Hero. Now sadly this is only a one game and not a match of best 2 out of 3, but if this video at least receives 20 likes, I would definitely do some more recordings of matches and especially have a lot of records of matches and good ones like C.O.D versus Prankets Brave or even Despia as well. So if you guys want to see those videos, definitely like this one. So I actually have a feel and know if you guys actually enjoy these type of videos. But also, friendly reminder to definitely like and subscribe, and especially subscribe because it really helps the channel a lot. But also, if you guys want to enter in our amazing giveaways. So with that being said, let's get started on the duel. So we're going to decide rock, paper, scissors, and we are going second, obviously. Now, this deck does not have a problem going first or second, and especially going first, it's quite simple. We do the hand loop and we do the negates, but going second, majority of the time, it's all about OTKing our opponent. Now, our starting hand is Knight Sword Serpent, White, Rocket Tracer, Nunu, and Foolish Burial, so we have no hand traps at all. And our opponent has Super Volley, which is a very good interruption against us. A bunch of the hero stuff, to be very honest, I have no idea what the hero stuff does. Never really cared about it and never really had a problem against hero, so don't know. Then there's Ash Blossom, so 2 interruptions for a turn. So honestly, this isn't a sanctioned event, so I go and tell my opponent pretty much like no hand traps, go all out, whatever, just let it go. And he just agreed and went all out. So because there's no point of wasting your opponent's time, like pretty much, especially on Duelingbook. Now, if you have no interruptions, just tell your opponent like, just go all out. Stop wasting time, pretty much. Like very impatient when it comes to Duelingbook. And honestly, I don't really play Duelingbook that much. So there's definitely a lot of misplays that I always attempt to do, but it's okay. We're learning. But the whole point about this video is definitely to see how the C.O.D deck does going second, and especially when dealing with interruptions, what you can possibly do. Now, I would know that there's definitely a lot of misplays on my opponent's part of doing or activating his interruptions pretty much, but it's not his fault because C.O.D is a very intimidating deck, okay? So even the best players can very screw up on what is the appropriate time to actually interrupt this deck, and ideally is that you want to stop it as soon as possible. If you have interruptions, you want to use it as soon as possible and stop the combos at its tracks right away. And this is why Nib is not really the ideal hand trap, especially for this deck, is because once we hit the point of summoning 5 times, we already have a lot of engines engraved and we just recover like so much synergy, so like it's really too late. That's why like Nib does not, this deck does not play around Nib, it plays through it. You do Nib and I'm still going combo off and everything because it's too late at that point. At the 5th summon, a lot of the times it's just too late. So we drew into Recharger, so this is very interesting hand because in total he does have this interruption, which is 0. We have Phoenix Enforcer, we have Sunrise, we have the Super Poly, and then we have the Ash Blossom. So in total, he does have actually technically 5 interruptions if we really think about it. Sunrise is only during the battle phase, pretty much. So during our main phase, yes, you know what? Absolute 0 is definitely an interruption. Super Volley and so pretty much 4 interruptions. Also depends what he makes with the Super Poly. It could definitely be 5th or 6th interruptions that he has. So we're going to start with Nunu. He doesn't use Ash. Understandable. There's definitely a lot of bigger stuff to actually hit besides Nunu, especially if I have Snake Rain and you decide to use Ash. But also, you should be careful of Gamma as well, because definitely maining Gamma can shut down the whole play, especially if I go and just bait you out by using new Naya or even Snake Rain and you choose to Ash me and I just chain Gamma. That is a big issue because then you have to waste more resources on just the Gamma. Okay, so we're going to normal summon Zora, then we're going to use Nunu. Now this is a good point to actually use Enforcer's effect because if you pop the Zora, I actually get locked into reptiles with Nunu, so I'm going to have to waste more resources trying to get rid of the Nunu just so I could actually start playing with the other monsters in the deck. So he could have actually done that, and that would have made me waste a lot of resources, but he chose not to, and instead I make King of the Pharaoh Imps, which he still doesn't negate or pop, so it's going to resolve. We're going to go add the Naya. Use Naya to send the Curse, and then we're going to definitely use Curse to pop the King of the Pharaoh Imps to special summon, and we're going to special summon the Naya. Now he's going to special summon his Vision guy. So there was a bit of confusion in the chat, but it's okay. Naya is going to attempt to search for the spell. He's going to actually decide and negate with Ash, which is honestly, at this point, I would not even bother of nicking Ash. There's more cards that is definitely going to benefit me more at this point than the adding the spell. So after that, we're going to go and make white. He does nothing. That is fine. We're going to link it for a Striker Dragon. Now we're going to do Striker 1 and white 2. Now a lot of times I will actually do white 1 and Striker 2 because if our opponent has Veilers or more interruptions as well, definitely they could strike with both. If our opponent has, let's say, a Skullmeister and Effect Veiler, if you do white 1 and Striker 2, then the only thing that they could use is the Effect Veiler. But if you do Striker 1 and white 2, then they could use Skullmeister and Effect Veiler, and that stops both of them. So it really depends on the situation, but a lot of times you will want your white or black to be Chainlink 1. Okay, so now we're going to banish to special summon the black. And we're going to overlay for a King of the Pharaoh Imps. Our opponent still chooses not to do anything, which allows us to use the effect. So we're going to go and get Cult, and we're going to special summon Cult. Now we're trying to bait that Enforcer. Now we really don't know what this back row is. Like there's no information that indicate what this is. So we're trying to really bait the Enforcer. If this could be a bluff or something else, doesn't really matter. I know he definitely doesn't have Nib because at certain points like this, Nib would actually be ideal, especially that he knows I have Boot. So then when I play Boot, he could just Phoenix Enforcer and just screw us over. So definitely we're past the point of Nib being available. But Phoenix Enforcer, we'll try to bait it out as much as possible. So we're going to go and special summon the Cult. Nothing happens. We're going to Foolish now, and we're going to Foolish the Recharger. Now the reason why is because we're going to use Striker's effect to pop the King of the Pharaoh Imp to add the Recharger. So we're going to add Recharger, and we had another Recharger in hand. So if he did actually chain the DPE, we could use the Recharger in hand because a lot of people forget that Recharger has nothing to do with dragons. It has to do with dark monsters, and specifically dark monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck. So King of the Pharaoh Imp is a dark monster special summon from the extra deck. So then we could use Recharger and special summon any dark monster besides that specific King of the Pharaoh Imp. So we're going to go and special summon Zoa. No actions in response, nothing. Fine, link it. Chaos Ruler. Now we're going to use Chaos Ruler. And we get Chaos Space and Levy. Oh, best mill. So we're going to add the Levy. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, Levy. Okay, yeah, okay. So Queen was the 5th card. Perfect. Okay, so we add the Levy. So now we're pretty much all set. So first thing we're going to do is Vampire. And our opponent is now going to decide to activate his Super Poly. So we can't do anything, so we let that resolve. He sent this by mistake, but he's going to put it back in a second, so that's fine. So now we're going to supposed to summon the Levineer. So we're banishing our zombie vampire because we have Chaos Space in the grave and we did not use zombie vampire, so we could actually remake him very easily, especially that we have a Chaos Ruler already in grave. We have lots of ways of making zombie vampire. So we're going to make Levy and use the effect. Our opponent chooses not to chain anything. Now, I get why. Because ideally, he knows that we are going to pop the Phoenix Enforcer, and then we're going to have to pop either any of the other 3. But if we pop Phoenix Enforcer and this, then yes, you know what? At least he has at least 2 interruptions and big board wipes as well, or the one during the battle phase as well. But if he used the Phoenix Enforcer, let's say that he pops both of these, then he's losing 2 and he's only going to have 1 remaining. So it does actually make sense why he did not use the Phoenix Enforcer. So we're going to resolve. We're actually going to get rid of the Phoenix Enforcer and the Sunrise because dealing with the Venom and Absolute Zero will be very easy to deal with. Decoration, there was more thinking about it. It became pretty much became the exact same thing. Like maybe I should have actually left the Sunrise because it has less attack than Venom. But if I pop the Venom or Absolute, then we lose our Levy right away. So at least this way we still keep our Levy. So it was definitely better to actually pop the Sunrise and Phoenix Enforcer in this situation because now we keep a Levy. So now we're going to use Chaos Space to return the zombie vampire so we could draw a card and we draw abs. So by accident I activated Boot because I changed my mind because I was going to think of using Boot, but then I want to actually summon the zombie vampire so then we can see what options we have. So we're going to use Chaos Ruler, special summon it, overlay, zombie vampire, use zombie vampire now. Okay, detaching Levineer. Now we're detaching Levineer because if somehow we get Starleash in the graveyard, we can return it back to hand. And yes, you can still summon Levineer as much as you want. It's just the actual effect you can only use once. So we're going to go and send 4. Our opponent's going to do the same. Ghost Ogre, amazing. And I love zombie vampires because sometimes there are some really good hand traps that your opponent either like main or side that you could use against them. Like I have brought back Ghost Ogres, I have brought back Lancia, Artifact Lancia many times with Zombie Vampires, so it's such an amazing card. But this time we're going to focus on our own stuff, so we're going to actually supposed to summon the Armageddon Knight. Use Armageddon's Knight to send Darkest Diabolus because we do have Queen in hand. So we're already planning of tributing so then we could get them out. Sadly, we can't really do our Ogdoadic combos because if we did our Ogdoadic combos to like discard our opponent's hand and potentially supposed to summon a monster, it's such a risk because for that combo to actually bring value and to actually succeed, your opponent needs a monster in hand. If your opponent doesn't have a monster in hand, then you can't really go off with that Ogdoadic combo. So that's why that combo is very hard against like Strikers or Sky Striker or even Elvlets, is because if they don't have a monster in hand, it's very hard to actually succeed with that combo. So we're not going gamble here and do the Ogdoadic combo. So we're going to stick with mostly some of like the synergy with the Ogdoadics and the dragons, and try our best to take advantage of this game. So we're going to go and use Boot to special summon 2 of them, and then special summon Ab since we control a rocket monster. Now we're not restricted to anything, which is the beauty of this. So we're going to go and link it for a seal. And we're going to use Abs to special summon a Tracer. Now we're going to use Queen's Effect to tribute the Seal and Armageddon Knight. And it's going to start a new chain link of Seal being chain link 1 and Darkest Diabolus as chain link 2. So Darkest Diabolus comes out as a big beast stick, and now we special summon the Star Leash, which is going to add the Lavineer. So we're going to synchro for a nice Savage, equip the Herodic Seal to it. So now it has 2 counters, which is 2 negates. We're going to balance the Star Leash to add back the Lavineer to hand, and we're going to re-special summon the Lavineer. Now we're going to overlay the Queen and Lavineer for Lancelot. The reason why we're not doing it on Darkest Diabolus is because we're planning to use Darkest Diabolus effect to hand loop our opponent on main phase 2. So right away we have 2 negates against our opponent's 2 interruptions. So we're going to go and attack directly first, which is going to deal 2000 and use the effect to destroy his Venom. Now Venom is going to activate and Lancelot has to negate, so negate the activation. And since it's the activation, that means it can be used in the damage step, which is perfect. Then we're going to go and attack with Savage. So he's going to activate Absolute 0. We're going to negate with Savage. There we go. Then we're going to attack with Zombie Vampire and attack directly with Darkest Diabolus. But now we're going to use Fairy Tale Snow. And we're going to actually banish our Herodic Seal, because Herodic Seal has 0 attack, so it's not really gaining Savage, but also Savage doesn't lose the counter. The counter part is established when it first equipped. Afterwards, that equipped monster has no use besides the attack boost, okay? So you can definitely banish any of the link monsters in the spell and trap card zone for Fairy Tale Snow, so it's not an issue at all. So we're going to go and do that, spell summon Fairy Tale Snow and attack our opponent. So now after this is done, we're going to go to main phase 2, use Darkest Diabolus to hand loop our opponent. They're going to place it on top of the deck. And now we're going to link Zombie Vampire and Fairy Tale Snow for our new monster, which is Dark Charmer. Now, the reason why we're playing Dark Charmer is quite simple. So we took out Lambda. Now, I know Lambda was good, especially with Omega. You banish Omega and phase add the Gamma. But there was a lot of situations that you were quite stuck, and especially with the Rocket Tracers, or actually a lot of the Rockets, actually, that Lambda was not optimal, and there is so many combos that you could do with Dark Charmer, and especially that you could actually even add as well if it gets destroyed. So, and surprising, you could add Chaos Lavineer with this card. Chaos Lavineer, let me show you. This is insane. Chaos Lavineer, where is my baby? Over here. Is 0 defense. So if Dark Charmer gets destroyed, okay, and I believe it has to be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect. So let me see. Okay, okay, if this link summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by opponent's card effect. Okay, cool. Now, a dark monster with 1500 or less defense. So you can actually add this, which is insane. But also, it's just more of, you're not locking yourself into it. There's more follow-up plays with it. So definitely, there's a lot of stuff that you could do with Dark Charmer more than Lambda. And that's why I made the switch. And I do recommend everyone to actually do that switch. You'll benefit fully from it. So now we summon our Dark Charmer, and we're going to use the effect to get the DPE. Now, why this is amazing is because, yes, they're still going to special summon on their turn, but we still have DPE as an interruption, so we can actually use DPE to pop either the Dark Charmer or maybe even Boot Sector Launch and one of our opponent's cards, so we could keep this for the longest time. And our opponent has no cards in hand. You're going to get 1 card in hand for the draw phase. they're going to use DPE's effective special summon. Now we already have 2 negates, so that already established. So they're going to attempt to activate this commander. Lancelot has to negate anyways. And that's pretty much it. So that is GG's right there. And this is why I love Dark Charmer, because of that. Now, I know some of you guys might be thinking like, oh, there was a lot of bad plays, you know, like our opponent could have done a lot more interruption. But let me tell you, this is a very intimidating deck to go against. And if you don't know how the deck is played, it is completely understandable that you want to wait and see what your opponent's planning to commit before you start doing actions in response, because especially that this is a deck that you want to stop in its tracks right away. You want to stop all the combos before they even start, and that's what you have to do. But for people that's the first time, and even like players that are like amazing players, when they go against this, they want to see what is the commitment, what other biggest searches or mills can it do, and what seems more appropriate to interrupts. But that is the complete opposite what you should be doing with the deck. And that's why, like, I don't blame him for not knowing this, because a lot of people don't know this. It's not like just public knowledge that everyone's aware of this. It's just very few know how to play against this deck. And definitely it just takes time. It's like if more players are actually playing this deck, then yes, a lot of players will get familiar with it. But at the point where it is right now, there's pretty much nobody playing this deck. And that's it for our duels. Now, like I said, if you guys enjoyed today's video, definitely like, and especially if we hit at least 20 likes, we'll definitely start doing some match videos, especially specifically with C.O.D. And if you guys want to support the channel by simply subscribing, or if you guys want to enter in our amazing giveaways, then definitely subscribe to the channel. And if you want a sneak peek of future products we're planning to review here on the channel, you can follow me on my Instagram, VaughnGear. I'm Vaughn, and this was the Gear Channel.